Time for our next special guest now, and on the call on the hotline we have Paul Baker from the outfit or the band that is Daniel Takes a Train. Welcome, Paul, to the show.
Good afternoon, Danny.
Yeah, well, welcome. It's nice to have you on board. And
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
speaking of on board, Daniel Takes a Train.
Yeah,
I like the sound of that. I
nice
know,
to be on your platform.
yes, many times took a train, but it's not about me, but it's about you. How did you come up with that name, and who are you in your group? Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm a singer in the band. I'm sort of one of the singer-songwriters in the actual Daniel Takes a Train group. We formed in 1984 when I think Dan actually the name came up because there was a film about the Hungarian uprising, and it won an award at the Cannes Film Festival. And I think Dan, the guitarist, was walking past the cinema in Notting Hill, and this big sign up said Daniel Takes a Train, and he thought, wow, what a great name for a band. And it was around the time of Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Curiosity Killed the Cat, so it seemed like a fitting name, especially as one of the bands called Daniel as well.
That's awesome. And who are you? Who are in your group? Is there just the two of you, or are there more band members?
No, no. We're basically a five-piece. We've got James on drums, Dan on guitar. We've got Jez on bass, and we've got a sax player called Paul as well. So we're a five-piece really, and yeah, enjoying it.
That's nice, full house. And I hear
Yeah.
you've calculated your combined age as well.
Well, I think we did when we were when we were doing a little thing about Billie Eilish. She had a James Bond song out. We had the alternative James Bond thing. So I think we worked out that we were quite a lot older than her in our combined age. I can't even remember what it was,
Yeah.
but it was yeah, quite scary.
I'd guess I think it was 220 something, which is much lower than the Rolling Stones. Put it that way.
Exactly, exactly.
Great.
We'll take that.
So you did mention how long you've been in the industry. That's over 30 years, is it? Going?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, our story is quite unique in some respects, in that we were a band, an '80s band that nearly got a record deal from sort of '84 to '88, and then we sort of Dan moved to Barcelona, so the band sort of disintegrated to a certain degree, and we all did our own little things musically. But and then amazingly, in 2018, sort of 30 years later, our drummer set up a Facebook page with all the memorabilia and the pictures of us gate crashing the Brit Awards and being in Just 17 magazine. And amazingly, a German record label heard the only song that we ever did on video, the only video we ever recorded, and loved the song so much he wanted to put it on a compilation album. As we'd never had anything released, we were really excited by this. But I thought, do you know what? We've got so many other good songs. Maybe I should send him a few more. And he was happy for me to do so. And on the back of that, he signed us. And we had our first debut album out 30 years after we split up. So I think sometimes people said it's almost from lad band to dad band was almost the sort of catchphrase.
That's
So it was quite unique, really.
That's incredible because more than ever, especially this time, that sound of that period, the 80s, is well and truly prominent in everyday music here on the radio, synthesizers, electronica.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, I think there's a lot of modern music that takes its roots and is a big nod to the 80s, isn't it? The Weekend, 1975, for example. So yeah, I mean, we're glad to be back, and we had our new album. We did a follow-up album that came out earlier this year, and we've had some great reviews. So it's been good to sort of get back into the business to a certain degree.
Lovely. And you mentioned you rubbed shoulders with some quite notable names back in the day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we gate crashed the Brit Awards, which got us quite a bit of attention. We got photos with the Pet Shop Boys, Alison Moyet, and Terence Trent D'Arby, and a few other people. I managed to get to a Smiths gig at the closing of the Greater London Council, and got backstage, chatted with Morrissey and the band, managed to nick a set list, and and had a great time in the 80s. I mean, we played football with Spandau Ballet, so we were so nearly there, but we never got the deal. as like a lot of bands, you kind of think that's it. And we just suddenly had this second wave of excitement in 2018, and the media went crazy. I think we did 6 national TV appearances in 7 days. We were in the top page 3 of the Times, the Evening Standard. So I think for a week we were, finally got the sort of experience of actually enjoying that sort of media excitement. So it was great fun.
Good to be back then.
And we reformed on the back of it, which was the best bit, because we love music, and I don't think you ever stop loving music. Mm-hmm. But it's such a tough business to get a deal in. I'm aware of a lot of bands that have success and then they get dropped by the label, and they end up sort of almost having to self-fund everything, and it's quite a hard business. So we've enjoyed putting together our second album, which is called Last Ticket to Tango, and and sort of enjoying the fact that we've been getting reviews all around the world for sort of our music, which is great.
Yeah, you do mention it. It's quite a cutthroat business where a lot of acts have been swallowed up and spit out at the other end. It's good to see many acts, going independently, doing it their own way. Yeah.
I think you've seen that with a lot of bands that have set up their own little labels or whatever, and thought, well, do we really need record company executives to tell us what we should be bringing out or not bringing out or whatever? And we've enjoyed the experience ourselves of actually putting this album together. Designing the artwork, deciding which is going to be the order of the running of tracks. We worked with a brilliant engineer producer called Pat Collier, who was the bass player of a band called the Vibrators. So he's given our music sort of a bit more of a sort of edge to it, I think. And that's been great to sort of work with someone with his experience. He produced Walking in Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves. So he knows how to write produce a hit. So that was great.
Cool. And your new track as well, Broken Hearted, reminds me of electronic. Do you remember the outfit electronic? I think it was Neil Tennant and was it Johnny Marr from the Smiths and Pet Shop Boys?
Yeah, I've been getting away with it all my life.
Yeah, you've got
That's the one. Yeah, it's great, and it's the other track, Song for the Broken Hearted, is the sort of the original, which is on the album. But we thought it would be quite fun to sort of do a slightly different genre to try and perhaps bring in a new set of music listeners, because the sort of music we produced on the album is probably, I say it's still current, but it's got a nod to the 80s, whereas I think this is really kind of a big nod to sort of the Pet Shop Boys, Human League, those type of bands. And it was good fun.
And it's amazing the 80s, that kind of synth sound's been can go back way to the early 70s, with Kraftwerk and Mike Oldfield and Jean-Michel Jarre as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's interesting how the different eras change, isn't it? And whether electronic music's in, or that it's very guitar based, or obviously, you get a different sort of sound every few years coming through. But I think I think of all the eras, the 80s is the one that still retains its sort of place, if you like, in every kind of era that we've been through. There's always still hear songs with a nod to the 80s, and it's such a sort of nostalgic feeling. I think as people grow up, they kind of they reminisce a little bit more about their past, and and it was a different world then. Yeah. And I grew up then, and it was a strange time. But if you saw the series It's a Sin, but I think it gave people who are younger a bit more of a flavour of what it was like in that era.
And just wrapping up now, I just wanted to add, it's amazing how people don't appreciate a particular decade till a couple of like say 20 years afterwards.
Yeah, you're right. I think if we knew what we knew back then, we'd probably enjoy ourselves even more, because it was such a. I called it the decade of innocence. I think people just did things, fashion. People tried things, and they were fearless. I think in this world now, everybody's sort of conscious of what they're doing and overthink things. And I think in those, it was such a free fun sort of time and an era to be around. And I think, you know, when you do look back, you do look back with great memories and thought, well, the music was brilliant, the fashion was great, and you know, going to work even didn't seem such a pressure. It just seemed like a kind of a fun time. But hey ho, we move on, and I'm sure it's, you know, the kids of today will have their own era. So
as you say, carefree days.
Yes, absolutely.
And your new CD your new album's available on CD as well, which is good, keeping that format going.
Yeah, it's available on Bandcamp or you know, through our Facebook page, and at Takes a Train on Twitter. So yeah, it's called Last Ticket to Tango. We've still got a few hundred copies of the CD version, which I always think is so nice to have the CD rather than just everybody downloading everything. But yeah, I mean, we're really proud of it, and we're pleased that it's received such a good attention in the press.
Well, thank you very much, Paul, from the band Daniel Takes a Train, for talking to me about your group, how it all began, and kind of your comeback as well. Going to get your tracks played now.
It's good to be back, and it's great to feel relevant again.
It's been nice connecting with you.
Brilliant. Cheers, Danny. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
See you soon.